Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Martial Way. Today, I got a very special guest, someone who I wanted to talk to before when I had originally had the podcast up. But as people know, I parked it for a while. But now, better time than any when everybody is in lockdown. As you know, I've been seeking people out. So I finally got this person on here. So Sensei Kiley Baker has been training in martial arts since 1995, teaching since 98, obtained her third degree black belt in Kyokushin in 2013, I believe. Black singlet in Titans Kickboxing. Sensei Kylie has been teaching and competing in martial arts, including Kyokushin, for many years. She's a three-time Victorian Kyokushin full contact champion, two-time World Ring Karate Australian champion. During her fighting career, Sensei Kylie has competed and won in many tournaments in Australia, New Zealand, and Japan. She's traveled to Thailand on several occasions to attend training camps in Muay Thai Kickboxing. She's also the author of Mother, Lover, Woman, Warrior, a book to help women discover and regain their power and show them how to take back control of their destiny. As she says, I quote, embrace perfect imperfection and discover a better way to be you, which I actually love. So, actually, this book is, we'll talk about it, but I don't think it's just for women. I actually got a lot out of this book. So, we'll get into that as well. But without further ado, please welcome Sensei Kylie Baker.
Us.
Thank you so much for taking the time to do this with me. I hope that intro was okay and
It was great.
summarized.
I'm glad you remember all the dates because I don't.
So, how are things at home?
Things at home are interesting. They're different. Yeah, I think I'm training probably more than ever, to be honest. Albeit differently, and I'm not getting to train with people and the class, which I really feed off.
Yeah.
So I've really noticed a difference there. But I'm doing a lot of training, seeking out different ways to train, and it's strange. My kids are away. They were visiting their dad for the school holidays. He's in Queensland, so they were up there visiting their dad, and they're sort of stuck there now. So they've been away a little bit longer, so it's actually eerily quiet.
Right.
So here, but I have my dog. I saw yours just creep in the corner there.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Yeah.
have I have two now actually. I adopted a second one as a buddy a couple weeks ago. So he came from Cairo, Egypt.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
yeah, so I got one from
Yeah,
Greece and one from Egypt, but they're
that's
good
amazing.
buddies.
I didn't know that even existed. That the
Yeah,
possibility of
yeah, it's pretty
adoption.
cool. Yeah, like
Yeah.
when I looked into when my last dog, Lemon, died, I took some time and I eventually wanted to adopt another dog and I started looking at adoptions and I saw all these organizations that rescue street dogs and stuff. And so they shipped them here to Canada and they take care of everything. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
I think they do. There's a lot of that in Thailand as well. There's a lot
Yeah,
of stray dogs in Thailand. Yeah.
yeah. So are schools shut down? Your dojo shut down?
Yeah, we were the first to close, like one of the first companies to be shut down by the government on 23rd of March, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Us, along with restaurants and gyms and so on. So we were the first sort of group to be put
Mm-hmm.
to close. So yeah, we've been shut down. That was strange to get used to, closing the door, putting the sign up, and yeah, that wasn't a good day. It
Yeah.
wasn't a good.
Have you been in contact with your students at all, and what's been the kind of response from everyone?
Look, a lot of students are still actually contributing, still keeping up some of their fee payments and stuff, which has been really
That's awesome.
amazing. And yeah, feeling the love, guys. So that's been really awesome. Obviously, lots of people have pulled out. Usually, lots of the newer members that don't feel that connection with us yet, haven't been with us for a while, and of course, people's situation changes and people have lost jobs and stuff like that, and we completely understand. So, but at the moment, we're sort of I'm keeping in contact with them all the time via Facebook Live. I did some training sessions. I don't know if you've watched any.
Yep, I saw them.
uh,
I've been trying to look
uh,
at different ones. It's actually that's the one
yeah,
cool thing with this stuff. I'm getting to do trainings with people I would never normally see, so it's pretty cool.
yeah, that is kind of awesome. So I've been doing some training, online training stuff as much as well, probably not as much as possible, but as much as I'm inspired to do, I guess. Trying to put up a fair bit of contact online, content, I should say, not contact. I guess it's the same
Mm,
thing, contact and content. But and our jiu-jitsu group has a, like the whole group as such. our affiliation, if you like. They've got an online training portal as well. So there's lots of things that our members can access.
I've always been
Yeah.
curious how the jiu-jitsu guys are doing because in our dojo as well, we have kyokushin, kickboxing, and jiu-jitsu. And
Mm.
for things like kickboxing and kyokushin, right next to me, I got my heavy bag. I have all my kettlebells and stuff. I can do that solo kind of training and stuff. But I wonder what the jiu-jitsu folks are doing.
Well, I guess it's the same. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, when Kyokushin, we practice and we do the kettlebells and we do I guess the bag work helps, but you're still not getting that contact stuff
Yes.
with partners. You're still not getting that.
Yeah.
And in jiu-jitsu, it's the same. So you can do kettlebell training, you can do the flexibility stuff, you can do the yoga, all that kind of stuff helps with your body movement. You just don't get that drilling with your partner, but you can do the movements, like the warm-ups and the movements are still keeping your body, thinking about the movement patterns that are in BJJ. So I think they can still train. It's just, it probably feels a little bit more disconnected, a little bit harder, I guess.
Yeah.
And just, I mean, I struggle to remember stuff anyway with BJJ, and I just feel it slipping away while I'm here, because just not going over it is difficult. And I don't have the years of experience that lots of people do,
Right.
where you remember things. So yeah.
And I want to get into your experience actually in a second, but yeah, it's one thing I've been thinking about. Like, I think when this whole thing is over, and hopefully it is soon, people are either going to come out of here like really fit, ready, gung ho to train, or they're just going to come out
Yeah.
overweight and like,
Have you
stagnant.
seen Have you seen the meme? It says, "Which Thor do
No.
you choose?" And it's got, the ripped Thor, and then the one where he gets drunk and alcoholic and huge, and it's like, which Thor do you choose? Yeah, I
I,
hope I'm the former.
I guess
Mm.
I feel like I have my foot in both because even before this, when we started chatting, I told you I'm having a beverage right now, but it is in the evening. But I did
Yeah.
train today. I've been training every day, so and it does keep me sane. Like even days I don't feel like doing it, I always feel so amazing after the endorphins
Yeah.
go and everything. It's just yeah,
Yeah, and it's interesting because I've been finding some spots outdoors to train. I think I can probably go to my dojo and train. I have a
yeah,
couple of times. At first, I thought we weren't even allowed to go. We heard stories of people doing just filming online training sessions in Sydney, and the cops coming in and
yeah.
shutting them down and all that kind of stuff. So I was a bit hesitant at the start to go to the dojo. But on the occasions that I've gone, it's sad.
Yeah, yeah.
I go and I'm sitting. If I have to go into the office, I've had to go and do my tax and do paperwork and all that stuff for the accountant and whatever. And I sit in my office and I look out over this empty gym, and it hurts my soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot of feedback I'm getting from a lot of folks. It's
Mm.
yeah. But again, I don't want to turn this into a
Negative. No, it's not negative.
yes, no.
Yeah.
So for folks that don't know you, and
Hmm.
again, I really do recommend this book, and we will get into it. Mother Lover, Woman Warrior. It's actually amazing. Um, but and in the book, it talks about how you got into Kyokushin. But for folks that don't know you, maybe a little brief history how you discovered Kyokushin.
Now I have to tell the truth because people might read the book
That's
and make it
right.
up. Yeah. Well, I had done, back during my time when I was growing up, and I didn't start Kyokushin until I was 19 years
Yeah.
old. So, which is, unfortunate, I guess, but better late than never. I could have been 30,
Yeah.
or like some of my members, I could have been 60, which is amazing, right? That's another story. But I had done jazz ballet, I had done calisthenics, and none of it really stuck with me. I did tennis lessons for a bit just because my friend was doing it and the coach was cute, so I did tennis lessons. But I wasn't really into it, and I didn't feel anything from it. So there was no passion. I didn't stick with anything. And then I had a boyfriend for a long time when I was growing up. It was like a 5-year relationship early on from about 14 years old. And yeah, about 14 years old, 15 maybe. And then he used to do Zendu-kai.
Hmm.
Yeah, I never went to any training or anything with him, but we talked about it a lot, and we watched The Karate Kid, of course, and well, I did. And then we broke up, and I went, I'm going to go and do kickboxing and show you. I don't know what was going through my head, why that was a thing, but I'm totally glad it was, because or else I would never have looked up martial arts. And then I looked through the yellow pages. Yeah, that's how old I am. Like yellow pages, the big, big one. I'm looking through for martial arts schools and stuff like that, and I see this one, and I'm like, I'm going to go there. And it was pretty far away from me back then. I mean, I had a car, had a license. It was probably a 45-minute drive to the dojo, but that's the one I wanted to go to. It sounded like the best one. So I went to, it was Alpha Martial Arts Academy, which is what I now operate.
Mm-hmm.
So I drove down to the dojo fully intending to do kickboxing. And on the night that I walked in, it wasn't the kickboxing class. They didn't have the timetable on the online for me to check, right? There wasn't a, so
They had
I walked in.
online way back then?
No, that's what I'm
Just
saying.
kidding.
There was no online. It was just whatever was on the, it just said this. I probably should have called first. Yeah, but I didn't. I just thought, I'm going to show up. I'm just going to go, because I was scared. I was going to chicken out. So I just drove down. Anyway, the lady behind the reception was lovely, and she's like, hey, we can give you gold pass for 1 week. Come in and do as many classes as you want. Tonight's kickboxing. Tonight's karate, not kickboxing. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm here. I figured I'm here. I'm not going to back down. I'm going to do something. I'm here. So I walked in and I did my first ever Kyokushin class, and just so had it that the head instructor, Shian George Kolovos, was teaching that night. It usually wasn't him, but he was down on that particular night. So I got to train with the head instructor, and I loved it. I never did do kickboxing for 2 years later.
And what was it about Kyokushin? I mean, you went there with the intention of doing kickboxing, which you're familiar with. So I'm sure Kyokushin was a little bit foreign to you. What was it about that made you stick there?
I loved the discipline. I felt like I was immersing myself in this whole new culture, and I felt like I could do it. Like I felt that this is something that I couldn't do it, but it felt possible to me. I don't know whether it was the support or the environment or what. I don't know what it was, but I just soaked every second of that class up, and I just wanted to go back the next day, and I wanted to, and actually I was nearly there every day after that, every day that there was classes. And very, very early in, I don't know what it was. It just felt like the right place to be, and I started skipping university tutorials and stuff like that to go training, and really early on I just wanted to train as much as I could. So I can't really answer your question. I just know that it was a feeling that I got when I walked in, that this was where I needed to be.
Home.
Yeah, it felt like home. It really did.
Yeah, and again, reading in your book, I was reading that, and you were training like 14 days a week. You were training a lot. And again, like other people I've spoken to, and including myself, it's really hard to put into words. It either clicks with people or it doesn't, and you see it relatively early on. People will last a few months and they'll drift on, they're in and out, and other people just, to your point, they love the discipline, they love the traditionalism of it, they love the hardcore training, and they just want more of that.
The respect, and it was really foreign, I guess, to me. That type of behavior, which I've always been attracted to, that kind of stuff, like stuff that's different and unusual, and seem to have a deeper meaning.
Yes.
So I think that's what I loved about it.
Yeah. And again, like, you're actually reminding me a lot of, like, now the conversations I've been starting to have with people. I think people who are entrenched in something like this, they do look for something deeper. It isn't, whether it's a physical activity, it isn't so just the physical portion of it. There is a more mental and spiritual portion to it that they draw out of it. And it doesn't have to be martial arts. It could be, I don't know, CrossFit or whatever the case may be. But it's something that's feeding their soul.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I really felt that from very early on.
Yeah. And what about competing? When did you start competing? Relatively early, or how'd you lead up to that? It's
I
funny.
did some
It's funny because I know a lot of this stuff.
I know. I did do some ippon kumite, so like some non-contact stuff very early on as a white belt. In fact, I was just going through photos the other day. One of those, I don't know how it happened. I just started, I know, I was looking for photos of my grandpa just recently.
Mm.
And just around Easter time, and I went through this big old box of photos, and I found a photo of me from my first ever tournament as a white belt, and big tetsui ice jumping in. It's funny. And actually, the girl who I was competing against is a friend, and she was just here yesterday. So we're still friends. A long time has passed, and we're still friends, which is cool. I love that. But yes, I did some non-contact stuff. I wanted to start the full contact. I was tiny when I first started Kyokushin, like skinny and scrawny, and there was nothing of me, and I couldn't seem to get anywhere near 50 kilos. And I wanted to. So for me back then, the full contact fighting area with us, the females, there was no division for me.
Mm-hmm.
So for me to jump in and fight, I was already at a disadvantage, but I wanted to do it because I felt like that was Kyokushin. And I was a green belt when I wanted to start fighting. And I said to my sensei, he was sensei then, I said I wanted to fight, and he says, "Oh, my girl, I just don't think you're ready." You're ready. And that, the funny thing was, that didn't put me off. It's like,
Yeah.
no, you can't say no. You can't say I can't do it. I wanted to do it. And so eventually I did some local tournaments. I ended up competing against the same girls all the time. A couple of them trained with me already, so we were members of the same dojo, and we always seemed to be fighting each other just because there was no division. And then I eventually just jumped in and started doing some tournaments, the Victorians and stuff like that, and fighting. I was always 5 to 10 kilos under.
And how was that experience when you first dove in?
Look, I noticed the difference. I don't think it was any different to anyone else's experience, to be honest.
Yeah.
The only thing was I had to fight differently. So I used to move around a lot.
Is that still your fighting style, would you say? Or do you consider that as a defensive fighting style, or?
Yeah, I probably am more defensive.
Yeah.
More a counter fighter,
Yeah.
but so I tend to hang back a little bit, which is not really what I want to do, but it's a sort of a habit now. I'm kind of working on now changing that. Actually, this weekend just passed, I was supposed to compete in Japan. That was the first time that I was gonna at the So-kyokushin World Tournament.
Oh wow.
I'd put my name down. I said at the start of the year I'm going to compete. I spoke to my Shihan, now Cameron Quinn, and I said, what do you reckon? Do you think I can do it? And he's like, yep, you can do it. If you want to do it, you can do it. And I'm like, okay, I'm in. And
That's
I
awesome.
said no more. And for the last couple of years, I said no more Kyokushin, I'm done. And then when I dabbled in the Kudo for a little bit, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to compete in the Kudo, but that kind of didn't eventuate the way that it was planned out in my mind. And I did a couple of BJJ tournaments last year.
Yeah, I saw.
And so I'm like, oh, okay, I think I want to fight again. The BJJ is great, don't get me wrong, I love it, but it's just not the same as hitting people.
I totally know what you mean.
It's a different thing. It's just, it feels different. I don't know. It's yeah. And so I decided I was going to compete again. Unfortunately, with the way things went, that tournament was cancelled early on. So that's been taken away from me a little bit. But the fire's still there. So
you think you're still going to go for it?
I think I will.
That's amazing. That's awesome. Because I thought you were retired from Kyokushin.
By the way,
fighting.
that was a big. That was a big secret. I just let out a big secret.
That's amazing.
I'd only told a couple of people that was going to happen. So.
Well, now I'm definitely going to be following your progress. I'll be cheering you on.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
Now I have to. Oh, I did it again. I made myself accountable. I've said it
right.
now.
That's a lot. Yeah, and that's a big tournament, a big organization.
Yeah, but I wanted to do it. I wanted to get back in there, and I've been training really hard since the start of the year.
Hmm.
In preparation for that, people were asking why I was training so hard, and I'm just like, because I like it. And I do like it.
So why did you keep it under wraps?
Because I didn't know if I was going to
Right.
puss out at the last minute. I
Yeah.
didn't know if the fire was still there.
Yeah. So you're
You know,
just
you
keeping
have to
keeping
work.
your cards. Yeah, I understand.
I was holding my cards, and also like I feel like this sounds stupid. Like I feel like who's that guy on what is it, Grease or something? I got a rep to protect. You know, like
Yes. Yes.
I used to be half decent fighter, so I didn't want to jump in and be terrible.
Hmm.
I didn't want people to as few people as possible to see that at a world tournament.
I know. I was
Yeah.
just gonna say. So you choose a
Yeah,
world
yeah,
tournament.
but it was in Japan. What that meant was that everyone from here, my community, didn't go, oh, we're
Right.
gonna come and watch.
Right.
You know, so I chose that tournament purely because I knew that people weren't gonna come and watch me that knew me.
So you
But
mentioned
I
Shihan Cameron Quinn, who
mhm.
I've had on here, and who
Yes,
I think everybody in Kyokushin has massive respect for. Are you training with him now? Are you a member of So-kyokushin now?
yeah, I
I thought you
created
were
last year
independent. Oh, okay.
for many, many years. And then I realized I need someone. You know, I'm teaching, but I'm not learning. I mean,
Right.
you learn through teaching. Don't
Hmm.
get me wrong. I understand that 100%. I think everybody should teach.
Yes.
It's the biggest eye opener that there is. You know, but I needed someone. I couldn't progress. And I know I go to camps. You know, I'm training with Shihan Judd Reed
Yeah.
as often as I can. I go to his camps, and leading up to the tournament, I was going to his his fight class every Friday night, as often as I could, trying to get ready. That was nipped in the bud, of course, with everything
Yeah.
that's happened. But you know, I'm there, and I try to train with as many people as I can, um, just to keep up my learning.
Right.
But I really needed someone, and I've always felt, you know, I've known Shihan Cameron Quinn for many, many years, and we've always worked together, regardless of affiliations and, you know, associations and stuff like that. Because how could you not respect somebody like that?
Yeah.
And but you know, as and our relationship has developed over the years, and we're pretty close, and you know, I'm not in contact with my own father or whatever. And for me, I think this sounds stupid maybe, but Kyokushin for many reasons was, you know, and the men in Kyokushin specifically, I'm talking about the men in this instance. A lot of them have been like father figures to me. You know,
Hmm.
somebody I could come to and ask questions. I remember saying years and years ago when I was with Shihan George Kolovos, I had to I was working for him full time, and well, there were other things that happened in my life, and sometimes telling him was harder than telling my own family.
Right. Right.
You know, and I remember saying that to his wife. I said, I'm scared to tell him whatever it was that I need to tell him. And I said, I'm more scared to tell him than my parents, my mum, you know, my stepfather. So I have, you know, a lot of respect for the men. And I think Shihan Cameron Quinn to me is very close in many ways. You know, I look to him outside of Kyokushin for advice
Was an
and
incredibly
stuff like that.
wise man.
Yeah, yeah, there was a really difficult time in my life, you know, a couple of years back, and at the end of the day, he was the person that I said, "Can I call you?" P.S. I'm having a mental breakdown. Can I call you? And he's like, "For sure." And you know, even you've spoken to him,
Yeah.
even just his voice, the instant that he
Yes.
started talking, you're like,
Yes. Exactly.
and you know you're going to get sound advice, and you know he's not going to sugarcoat it and stuff like that. So yes, I'm definitely affiliated with Shihan Cameron Quinn now, part of the So-kyokushin organization, and I'm excited
That's
by that.
terrific. Yeah, they're amazing. Actually, the last podcast I did was Shihan Hugo Perez out of
Yeah,
Quebec.
I met.
Uh, oh, you did? That's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
great guy. And yeah, I was saying to him like, you know, I try to keep this whole thing like I don't like getting politics in the way of any of this stuff because you know some organizations are closed, some are more open. But Sokyokushin is one that I have massive respect for. Just every way, the way they conduct themselves and the way the emphasis they put just as much on Kihon, Kata as they do on their Kumite.
Hmm.
Their leaders are, you know, they're getting up there but still their technique is amazing. It's yeah, it's pretty impressive. Very so
Yeah.
good for you. It's a great organization.
I met Shihan Perez a couple 2 years ago. I think I was in
Hmm.
Japan. That's when I was training in the Kudo,
Hmm.
and I met up at the end of my trip with Shihan Cameron Quinn, and went to the So-kyokushin World Tournament,
Right.
the one that I was supposed to compete in. So a couple of years back, I went to watch that, and yeah, I was totally impressed, and that's where I met him and through Shihan. Yeah.
That's awesome. So you kept alluding a couple times to kudo, and I know that is something that you picked up. How long ago did you first start kudo, and are you still actively um,
I'm
practicing?
no longer part. No, I'm no longer part of the organization. I was removed. Um,
Oh
that's a whole other story.
no, let's
But
get into that one.
no, no.
That's what people
Um,
want to hear.
yeah. You know me.
Yeah.
You know. But I loved that experience, and I love the style. I would still be there if it wasn't for what had happened. Um, and yeah, honestly, I think that's because I met Jukucho when I was in Japan,
Hmm.
which was amazing. Uh, Paul Kale, who heads up what's now Jisen Budo, they sort of stepped away from Kudo, but Jisen Budo, which is essentially what
Yeah.
Kudo is, yeah. Um, he made it possible for me to meet up with Jukucho, and I trained at the Hombu Dojo, So Hombu Dojo. Um, and I went out for dinner with them one night. They took me out, which was really amazing, and I felt really privileged to go out for dinner with him, his wife, his daughter, his uchideshis and stuff, and that was amazing. And he was talking to me about Sosai and the conversations that they'd had,
Oh,
and
cool.
how about, and it was broached that uh, back in the day, from what I understand, that why don't we? The conversation was, why don't we add the head punches, and why don't we do the takedowns, and why don't we? And Sosai was very much no. Um,
Oh, really?
yes, and he said because people won't do it, and because I think that was at the peak of Kyokushin when the full contact fighting was really taking off,
The
and
tournament side, yeah,
yeah, and the
yeah.
idea of adding head punches and stuff to that is going to take people away, perhaps. And
Mm.
I don't think he wanted to go down that route. And that's when I think Jukucho suggested, well, let's do it, but let's wear the head guard so people's faces don't get,
Mm.
mashed up. And because also I still wanted it to be bare fist. And the bare
Yes.
fist with an open face is crazy, right? That's
Mm.
just a bloodbath.
Mm.
So um, I think, and that's when Jukucho suggested the head guards and stuff like that. And I think he said no, he didn't want us to do that because he wanted to keep it bare fist,
Yeah, that's what
um,
I've read. Yeah,
to keep Kyokushin what
yeah,
it was. And
yeah.
so he said, well, if that's what you want to do, you do that. So I think Jukucho stepped away and did the kudo. But wouldn't it be amazing? Wouldn't it be amazing if Kyokushin went back that way and started implementing some of that into our tournament arena, and whether or not that's all we do, or whether or not that there's divisions, because divisions could be good, right? We could have traditional Kyokushin, and then we could have the next step where we added the takedowns and we add the face punches and stuff, and we bring it back. I say bring it back because I think that's what it was, right?
Yep.
Full circle. Bring it back to what it was, because the criticisms of Kyokushin are always that it's not real fighting because we don't have the face punches and the takedowns and stuff like that. And yeah,
Uh,
I agree.
yeah, I'm totally on board with you.
Mm.
People know me. I'm a huge advocate of that as well. Yeah, and the more when I got into Kyokushin, looking at the history of it and studying it, um, that's when I started seeing like the original traditional Kyokushin did have all the takedowns. It had the face punches. It had grappling. All these components to it. And then when they wanted to do the tournament stuff, it was frowned upon to have, as you said, people's faces mashed up on live TV in
Yeah.
Japan. They didn't like that idea. So hence why the face punching went out, and then other things started eliminating. And even in the conversation I had a couple of years ago, Shan Cameron Quinn, he had
Mm.
talked about it as well. I mean, all those components were there in the beginning. And if you look at Sosai's own books, even the English ones that we have, he has all these movements, that are essentially, you know, entering, trapping, the grappling, the takedowns and stuff. And then, not to mention, what people are not aware is there's dozens of Japanese books as well that were never translated to English
Yeah.
that also have all those components as well. So I think to your point, yeah, they were there in the beginning, but I've never heard that take on it. And I love what you just said, to evolve it to the point, and that's what again what Shihan Cameron Quinn was talking about. Evolving Kyokushin to come back full circle. But if you had that in a tournament where you had those divisions, that's brilliant. Have you
I think
broached
that.
that? Have you broached that idea with anybody else? Like, actually,
No, I think I talked about it in a blog post that I wrote once.
yeah,
Because I'll bring it back to that blog post, because I wrote that and I was expecting a bit of backlash, but I didn't get too much.
right.
Um, but I did have some
I
contact
do
from the
remember that
Ashara
now. Yeah.
talking about women, because like majority of instructors are big strong men.
Hmm.
And the lineage, most people's lineage comes down from big strong men, and a lot of the techniques we learn done by big strong men. I'll kind of go around about it a little bit, because I have had some exposure to BJJ, which was a huge
Right.
eye opener for me,
Yeah.
right? I'll bring it back to that in a minute, but like, and I think I wrote that blog post after coming back from one of Shihan Judd's camps, where Peter Graham was there, and he stood up and he's like, well, what are you going to do when I'm standing here? And he's like this much taller than me, and I'm going to do this to you right now. What are you going to do? And he asked me that question in front of a whole camp full of students in the training hall. And I'm like, he wasn't expecting me to answer. It was more of an example. But at that point in time, I went, okay, I'm thinking of things right now. Like I had a plan, and I'm like, yeah, because it isn't going to be a roundhouse kick, and it's not going to be a body punch. It's not going to be any of those things, because they're not going to work on him. I can stand in the dojo and I can punch and kick people hard and I can have an impact, but am I going to drop them? Am I going to stop them from grabbing me by the hand, taking? No, not with any of those shots. It's going to be something else. And so my point in that is that because majority of dojos focus on the tournament work, right? I know we have a syllabus, I know we have kata, I know we have all this stuff, and as much as kata, people say, oh, it has groundwork in it, it has takedowns. You're not doing it like that. You're drilling it by yourself. So you don't understand the takedown. You don't understand the lock and the hold unless you're doing it with someone, and unless you're doing it with someone who doesn't want it done to them.
Resisting, yeah.
Well, Shihan Cameron Quinn says an uncompliant opponent, yeah?
Yeah.
And so unless somebody is not letting you do it, it's very difficult to say that you know it. You don't.
Yeah.
So my thing is that unless we change the tournament work to focus more on these other techniques that are good for people to be able to control an opponent, and not have to just drop them with a really skillful, powerful body shot or something like that, which is great. And I love that. I love that about Kyokushin. I love that it's difficult to drop someone. But in terms of sending a female out into the world with a black belt and say, you know how to defend yourself? I don't know. If that's what our focus is, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying Kyokushin is not good, but it's just, if our focus is purely on the tournament fighting as it is now, I think it's the wrong message to give people, particularly as a small female who struggles in the dojo to spar the bigger guys, because I do, right? I teach these people. I think they're pretty good, and when it gets to the point where they give me trouble in class, and I can't stand there and Kyokushin spar these guys anymore and just be able to take them out. I just can't. Like, I mean, I can spar them.
No, I understand what you're saying.
But I have trouble with them, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, it's difficult. So I need something else. And then my exposure to the BJJ, when I first started it was so frustrating. Like, I'd come home from class. Sometimes I'd cry on the way home because I
relate.
I was so frustrated. It's like, I've got a black belt, God damn it. And I can't do anything. I can't do anything. And I was just so frustrated with myself. I found it extremely hard to learn the jiu-jitsu. I don't know if it's because the learning methodology is different as well. So I had to
very different. Yeah.
learn a new way to learn. because there isn't just that drilling, that repetition. I mean, there is, but it's not the same as just practicing and move. You're working with someone else. So, but that's when I realized that if you don't, I mean, the takedowns, if you're not exposed to them and you're not aware of them, and the holds, and if you don't know what to do when someone takes you to the ground, it's a huge gap. It's a massive, huge gap. And I think it's really important that we address that. And then through the kickboxing that I've done as well, because I've had that at the dojo for years and years, you know, head punches. If you're not exposing yourself to them, you know, I'll talk to you about Kudo. And I remember going into, this is when I was training in Sendai with Shian Alexei Kononenko and with his group. And the first night we did some sparring, and I put on my face helmet, but I'd forgotten my mouth guard. I left it at the hotel. And so I'm not going to say I'm there, right? I'm not going to say I forgot my mouth guard. I just put my head guard on and I'm ready to go, you know. And I'm sparring one of the guys there. And for me too, like, the head guard's different as well. I have to say, the head guard adds inches to your face.
Right. Yeah. Because the shield.
Slipping distance. Yeah, but your slipping distance is slightly off. So I hadn't done a lot of sparring with the face guard on. So I'm defending myself here, so I don't want to sound crap, right? Because I got snapped in the face. But I honestly think that the shield creates a small difference where I think I would have slipped that punch had it been in kickboxing class. I copped it. Right. Anyway, it was a brilliant punch. Probably would have got through anyway. But he's just gone smack straight down the center, and my face just gone bang like this. And I kept sparring. It was fine. But then I took off the head guard, and it was just full of blood, like the head, just full of blood. So even wearing the head guard, what I'm saying is you're feeling those punches. You're still getting hit in the face. So it might look a bit like, oh, but you're wearing head guards. It's not real. Let me tell you, you're still wearing stuff through that helmet. But I think we need to be exposed to those head punches. I think we need to be exposed to the takedowns and the groundwork, and not just every second week for half an hour in the dojo. Like, I think it's something that we have to work towards being real within the fighting, because it just changes everything. It really does change everything.
That was amazing. Yes, I think you summarized it for myself. It's definitely my philosophy, and a lot of other people that I've been speaking to as well. You know, Kyokushin was always known as the strongest karate, and all these other acronyms that they would.
I'm going to tell you something.
Yeah, please.
Hold that thought. Go on.
Go on. Yeah. No, go.
So, have you watched the new Ip Man movie?
The new which? The Ip Man one? No, not yet.
Ip Man. Number 4?
Yeah, whatever, yeah.
I just watched it the other night, and I want to know. I want to know whether they on purposely did this, but
I think I know where you, I haven't seen the movie, but I think I know where you're going. Go on.
He says, from Kyokushin karate.
It's a different style.
Kyokushin.
It's a different style.
It's a different style?
Yeah.
Or was I just didn't want to say Kyokushin?
No, I heard about the exact same thing, so I got on Google and looked it up right away, and I found there actually is a style that goes by that name.
Oh, okay.
Because it does. It comes out exactly the same way, and
they say us.
Yeah.
Everything, right? I'm like, what?
I still think they did it on purpose that way, but didn't want to say.
It.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't seen it yet though, but I need to see it. Yeah.
It's good. It was a strange movie. For me, I felt like the first couple of Ip Mans were kind of dark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there was a dark undertone to them.
Yeah.
This one feels like 1970s, like
Chopsaki movies.
Like almost corny, funny, corny, cool. It's still cool, but a little bit on the corny side. Even the way it's filmed, like the cinematography of it, like it's the coloring is really interesting. It does really look 70s. It's got that feel about it, which I think was on purpose. Mm-hmm. But it seems a lot more Hollywood, lighthearted than any of the other ones have been. Yeah.
Yeah, I've only seen the first two. And yeah, you're right. Like they're amazing. They're really, really good. Like, yeah, everything from the cinematography to your point, they are a little darker and dramatic.
But this one feels very much I don't know. I can't think of the examples, but yeah, it's good. It's good to watch. It doesn't paint karate in a very good light, though, I have to say.
Yeah. Well. So anyway, yeah. That's my point. I think that's you, Kyokushin has always been known as this strongest karate and stuff, but and it's still called, it's a martial art. It's not a
Mm,
sport. We do have a huge sport component to it, of course, and there's so many athletes that are focusing on that, but it's only a small part of it. And my concern is that it is going to turn into like what happened to Taekwondo and and other arts like that. Like I remember when I was a little kid, my first art was Taekwondo, and I studied from this guy. I was like, I don't know, 10 years old, whatever. I studied from this guy from ITF, which was the original
mhm.
Taekwondo, and it was so similar to Kyokushin. It was so similar. There was no tag
Wow.
fighting. It was full contact. It was the teacher was incredibly traditional. It was hardcore. Even as a 10, I found it too hard actually as a 10-year
Mm.
old. Um, but now, I mean, you see it's become WTF and how they've gone to this whole sports arena of like, Olympic style tag where they're even to this point, I think now they're putting on electronic devices to score the points.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like where's the like it's an art maybe, but I don't know where the martial component of it is. And so when I look at Kyokushin and how it was developed, it was meant to pull together like judo and jiu-jitsu or whatever the case may be, combat arts to have a
Mm.
full system. And somewhere along the line, because of sport, I feel like it was lost, and I would love to see that focus on it again. It's something that's drawn me to Kudo as well, and I'm always torn because I love Kudo and stuff, but I love the kata and I love all the other stuff of Kyokushin. And to your point, we don't put enough emphasis on, yeah, we may practice kata and they could aesthetically look great, but not a lot of people know what's going on in there. They're not actually working on it and drilling different things. And unless you do jujitsu or judo or any of those things, you're
Mm.
lost.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So
So
I hope
you're going to
something happens.
spearhead it. So you're going to spearhead it. So you're going to
Yeah,
start.
yeah, yeah, because I'm so important. Yeah. Uh,
I
uh,
still I still think your idea of
maybe I
having,
can whisper in Shihan's ear.
but I think he would totally be game for that. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Shihan, if you're listening or watching, I'm sorry. But I think that would be so amazing to have a subcomponent even to tournaments where you allowed takedowns and allowed other things, whether it's face punches or whatever the case may be, to make it a little bit more realistic, for lack of a better word.
Well, like there's the Ashihara split,
Yes. Yeah.
and that kind of stuff, and this and the what is it, Sabaki karate and stuff like that.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
there's a little
Inshin.
bit of that.
Inshin.
Mm.
Yeah.
Enshin.
Yeah. Yeah, out of Chicago, or sorry, Colorado. Yeah.
There's
So,
actually a dojo, one local to me as well, just around the corner,
oh,
who I've
Inchin?
been meaning to go and train with for quite some time, and I haven't got around there because I'm so busy, and I'm not busy anymore. But guess what? They're not open either.
Yeah, right. I've heard great things about Inchin as well. Like, I'm not sure what it would be like in Australia, but here and at their Humbo in actually my sensei Steve, when he lived in Colorado, he trained there as well. So he's told me some cool stories out of there when he was first exposed to the takedowns and stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, it was pretty
Yeah,
neat.
interesting.
Yeah, I'll park it. It was a very good story.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but do you have ambition, like in your own dojo, in your own training? And I wanted, I'm sorry, we're going. I hope you don't mind. I'm jumping all over the place, but
No,
I
it's
I
fine.
do want to talk
That's how
about
my,
how. Sorry.
that's how my brain works.
Okay, good. Me too.
Yeah.
So I do want to talk about how you got your own dojo and stuff because
Hmm.
it's a cool little history around that. But in your own teaching now, are you trying to incorporate those portions as well? Takedowns, grappling, that kind of stuff. And you
Yeah,
make it
definitely.
and you make it part of Kyokushin?
Make a part of Kyokushin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm teaching basic BJJ stuff. Very basic because I'm very basic BJJ.
Hmm.
I'm a blue belt, but I don't think I'm a very good blue belt. But so but definitely the takedowns, and then they're progressing to stuff on the floor.
Yep.
Uh, which comes straight from our BJJ. So in my dojo, we have the Kyokushin, we have Jiu-Jitsu, we have Muay Thai Kickboxing, and we have Aikido. So I don't teach the Aikido or the BJJ, I teach the karate and the kickboxing. But I sort of dabble in most of them. I don't get to train in the Aikido very much at all, which is a shame because I'd love to. But the other blend together. So, we do focus work on the pads in the Kyokushin class as we would in the kickboxing class.
Right.
We also do, like I said, we bring in basic BJJ ground stuff often in the class. And I know, like with the gradings, because I was starting to blend things in. Oh, actually, my Shihan George Kolovos added kickboxing to his green belt and above Kyokushin gradings years and years ago. He sort of was doing that already. So I already had some kickboxing stuff in my classes. And then with the addition of the jiu-jitsu, and then my affiliation with Shihan Cameron Quinn, because he's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu.
Yes. Yeah.
And he incorporates a lot of groundwork into his Kyokushin classes. I've been there, I've trained at his dojo, and I've seen what the amount of time that they spend on the groundwork and the takedowns and stuff in the Kyokushin. And the last couple of gradings that I've had when Shihan Cameron Quinn's come down for the gradings, that's been part of the grading as well. Even to the point where, like, during the 40 rounds of kumite, a student of mine who recently graded for black belt was able to take down, during the fights. That's awesome. and had to elicit control on the ground. So,
great.
Definitely that's where I'm pushing forward with the dojo. It's where I wanted to go anyway. That's why I loved it when we were looking at the Kudo, because it seemed like, to me, it was everything we did in the dojo put together, and here's your chance to see what it all looks like as one, which I thought was really cool. But we're sort of doing it anyway. We're doing it anyway.
Yeah, a lot of dojos are, I mean, we do in ours as well, as I alluded to, we do kickboxing, we have jiu-jitsu classes, no-gi grappling with some high-level coaches, including Sensei Steve, and he encourages people to, go into each of these and blend them in, although they're not so much a part of our Kyokushin together like that. But I have seen it, like even Hajime Kazumi now, who I know you've trained with in the past, and in his dojo, Iron and Soul in Japan. I was actually supposed to go there myself a couple of years ago, but he now does including for a grading for a black belt. It's punches to the face, grappling, takedowns, control, all that stuff. His system of Kazumi karate, I guess you call it, incorporates all the facets. And at his dojos, you have a full MMA cage and everything. So
now I'm even more excited because he was supposed to come down next month.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah, he was supposed to be in Spain as well. I was going to go to the camp in Spain, but yeah. And I'm still hoping eventually it's going to happen where I go to Japan and train there. But yeah, all the components now, and a student has to have each and every one to grade, and so. When I see and he's like, I'm not. Everybody knows for me, he's my favorite, for so many different reasons. For me, he's a modern samurai, and when I see someone like that who puts the value of that on it, it really, it means
I'm
I think it's important.
Oh, it's back to front. That's from Kazumi-san.
Yes, I see. What is that? What book is that?
Oh, this is the coveted.
Oh, yes. I don't have a copy. I'm still trying. I know he's hopefully gonna re-release it.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be out this year.
Well, so you trained with Kazumi before, right?
He came down for a camp. I think that was 1994. The date was on there. No, 1996.
Right.
1996. He came down for a camp. Shihan George Kolovos ran the camp, and I was a yellow belt.
I saw the picture.
Yeah, skinny little yellow belt. That was great. I've never seen a man eat so much food.
What?
You're just down, like, just food.
Kazumi?
Yeah.
I know he I hear he likes a beer, but I didn't know it was
Well, we didn't at our camps. We're not allowed to have alcohol.
Of course.
So I didn't see him drink a beer, but I did see him eat
A lot.
a lot of pizza.
Yeah, he's someone I've always actually when you were talking about your fighting style, he's someone I've always admired as a super strategic defensive fighter. And to your point, like I'm not a big person either. I'm 175 pounds. And
Kilos.
oh,
Kilos.
kilos? I don't know what the heck that is. Half that?
I think it's just a little over, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so weird. So we're in a country that everything is metric except
Except all your measurements.
except pounds and stuff. It's so weird. Like we're like 15 kilometers, 10 meters. Everything is like, but I weigh
You're not using inches?
175 pounds. Huh?
You don't do inches and
I guess, yeah, we kind of go back for the inches and
oh,
the centimeters. Yeah, anyway, that's kind of strange. It's so weird. Anyway, so, but yeah, I've always been very defensive myself. So, a counter striker and things like that.
yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I loved Kazumi. And plus, the Taiki Ken that he mixed
Hmm.
with his Kyokushin, I thought was like the way he intercepted was just brilliant.
Yeah.
To this day, I still study him. I think he's amazing. Um,
I was always a Gary O'Neill fan.
and I was going to ask, did you get to train? Well, you live there, so is
Mm.
Gary O'Neill? Did you have you trained with him?
Yeah, I didn't get to do a lot of training with Sensei Gary, but because he was in Queensland for most of it with Shian Cameron Quinn for a good part of his training.
Right.
But he did come to Melbourne for a bit, and he was at our dojo for a little bit, so I got to do a little bit of training with Sensei Gary. But I just used to sit on the side of the ring, watching him fight.
Because he was such an
Oh,
amazing fighter.
yes, that's exactly what I was saying.
But he was though. He was like
No, he was.
he was
I,
one of the
I idolized.
first. Yeah, he was one of the first that came in with the really cool footwork. Taking
I was watching
influences
him
from
do.
other. Yeah, amazing man, and those kicks. I mean, unbelievable.
Oh, it was just the way he would just like, bum, bum,
Yes.
bum, be so relaxed, and then he just like bang. I loved
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, big kicks, but he was just so composed, and I loved his, of course, the footwork,
Yeah.
the gaddy
Amazing.
step,
Yeah.
gaddy step.
Is he still
But
Is he still teaching?
not to my knowledge.
No.
He was a little bit, but he sort of moved away. I think he's focusing a little bit on CrossFit now.
I see.
But he did come down to Shian Judd's camp last year, and it was
Yeah,
amazing.
I saw that.
Getting to train with him again, that was so cool.
And Judd's
Yeah.
another person you've trained with.
Mhm.
Amazing.
A lot of training.
I'm
I
I'm
remember
I'm in contact
day
with him a lot. I love Xian Judd. I love you,
such
buddy.
an energetic, inspiring person. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's just a good
Have
guy.
you met him in person?
No, it will happen, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He's actually bugged me to go to Australia. Come over there and
Yeah.
stay there, train. So I've wanted to because I would give me an opportunity to, like meet people like yourself, Shihan Cameron,
Yeah.
and train with them. So it will happen eventually. And I've always wanted to go to Australia, so it'll happen.
I trained with him. He was at our dojo for quite some time when I was training with Shian George Kolovos and in the city, in the CBD, and he used to teach our Friday night fight class.
Mm.
So for years and years and years, like we had a crew, we'd train together. And to be honest, I'll tell you now, like I was more scared to go to that class than I was to fight any day. Any day.
Why?
Not scared because it was just so hard. And
Really?
I wasn't scared of getting hurt. That's not what it was. We sparred hard, but we didn't spar stupid. So you got hit, but you didn't get hurt. Like,
I
you know, you
understand.
didn't get
I
injured.
understand. Yeah.
But and they were
Smart
all
sparring.
bigger. Yeah, they were mostly all bigger guys. There was only a few of us girls
Hmm.
that were in that squad then. And there was always people coming down. You know, people would travel to come and train to that class,
Hmm.
and they still do travel to come down on a Friday night to train with Shian Judd. But like there would just be laps and burpees and sprints and bags for days, and just I remembered
Yes.
just being afraid that I would fail. That's what it was. I was afraid to fail, and I would be nervous going to that class to the point where I'd be like, "Oh, I can't find a parking spot. Maybe I can't train." But I always did. because I never back down. Like, I don't want to ever lose face. So I always would go to training, but there would be that moment in my mind, oh, I can't find parking spot. And then we'd all go out. Like, we'd go out and have some food afterwards and have a talk. And it was just that time when we were training together and training hard and socializing together and having fun was like the golden years of my training, I think, you know. And Xian Judd is just, I like being around him. He's a positive feedback guy. When you train with him, it's like he doesn't have enough energy to give. Like, sorry, he's got too much energy. It's like it never runs out, and you know, he's on fire all the time. And I love that, because usually that's me at the dojo, so I get to go somewhere else and take some back, you know. It's
Yeah, that's pretty cool actually that you have that opportunity to go with these.
Mm.
I mean, let's face it, they're huge names in Kyokushin, and
Absolutely.
like
I feel really lucky that I have had access to some of the people that I have over the years. You know, I've trained with a lot of good people, and I feel, and I'm sure there's hundreds more that I haven't had the opportunity to train with, but I feel really lucky that the ones that I have,
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And so you own and operate your own dojo, and you said way earlier on in this conversation, so the dojo belonged to your instructor before, is it, or how?
So I started training at the Alpha Martial Arts Academy, and I was training there for years and years and years, and then I would train everywhere. I would train in the city dojo. I would train with Shihan Maria Rich.
Yeah.
And I'm Lisco then, and Peter and stuff. They had a dojo out in Moonee Ponds, and now they've got one in Glenroy. So I would train everywhere. Like, during the week, I'd go and visit all these people and train with them. And then I actually wanted to go to Japan, and I had a really good job back then. I was working in an office for a company called Heidelberg, a German company. That's the name. And then I
Shout
thought,
out Heidelberg.
Shout out Heidelberg. And then I wanted to go to Japan, and I wanted to train. And so I applied for a job teaching English in Japan, and I got the job, and I was ready to go. And then I was actually I remember the day I was at Shihan Maria and Peter's dojo in Glenroy. It was a fairly new dojo then, and they had a Christmas party, and Shihan George Colivus came to the Christmas party that year, and he's pulled me over to the side, and he's like, "My girl, are you really going to go?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm going." And he's like, "Well, what do you really want to do?" And we had this whole conversation about what I really wanted to do. And he said, "Look, I'm going to offer you a job." And so he offered me a full-time job, whereas I would manage his Alpham dojo. I worked in the city, and I was going to be doing all this training and all this stuff with him. And that was the other thing I wanted. I had this romantic, and I did, and I'll say now, it's a romantic idea to open a gym, a dojo.
Sure.
And I had this romantic vision in my mind that this is what I wanted. And so I took that job. I never went to Japan. I took that job instead. So I was working for him full time, and operating the Alpham dojo, which was interesting because when he put me in that position, I was a lower rank than some of the other instructors there, but they couldn't take on the role full time.
Right.
So I was put in that position, and I think I put a few noses out of joint. I think a few people weren't happy with the putting me in that position at that time, which was unfortunate, but I wanted it, and I did the very best that I could. When I first started teaching, I realized how much I didn't know. Really, how much I didn't know, and I felt, because there was already this pressure on me that you're not high enough rank to be in that position, you shouldn't be there, that I was a very new black belt, and so a lot of people moved away at that time. That was hard. But I pushed through because I wanted it so much, and I loved it. I remember being a brown belt and watching people teach and getting frustrated, going, "You shouldn't have said it like that. You should say it like this," and so I always wanted to teach. I always wanted to teach, but yes, I was thrust into that position early. And then I was still working for him full time. And then the Alpha Dojo had a fire. So the fire went through the dojo, and it was like he wasn't sure whether he was going to keep it or not. And she made the call to close it, the Alpha Dojo.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I'm going to close the dojo. And I said, well, I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to take it. And he's like, well, if you want to go and open it up and it's your thing, go for it. So I said, okay. So I couldn't afford to move it into a factory like it was previously. I had I had nothing. I had no money to put into it. So I just hired a school hall. We were there for years and years until, well, 7 years I was at the school hall before I moved it again to another full-time premises. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I've had ever since then, yeah.
And how long you been at this location now?
Well, we've moved again since then. So from the school hall, 7 years, I went to the small factory.
Mm-hmm.
We were there for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the same block of factories, just up the ramp, I took another premises. It's three and a bit years now that we've been in that facility, which is like 3 times the size as the other one, which was a huge risk for me.
Mm-hmm.
When I made that move.
But
so
the risk paid off?
Definitely paid off. It was the right decision.
That's awesome. How many students do you have now with all disciplines?
With all disciplines, we're still not a huge dojo. I've probably got about 120.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Across all, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And where did the idea for the book come about? And how'd that start?
The book was interesting because the dojo wasn't always doing well. It really wasn't. And the book came about at a time when the dojo was not doing well at all. But I had come up with this idea to do this program called I Am Woman, which was, for me, a way to try and get women more women involved in training, because I saw them come in to the fitnessy style classes and love hitting the bags and they were picking up weight, but they love to feel strong, but they didn't know that before. They didn't. That's what they wanted until they got it exposed to them, and then they realized that it was really good, and they loved the feeling. So I came up with this program, which I hate. I hate the idea of 8-week programs. I despise them, but I was encouraged through a lot of the business courses that I went to and mentors and that I should do one, and I'm like, I hate it, but okay. Only because I see it as a way to get people involved in something I want them to be involved in. But the 8-week program was different. Anyway, during the course of that, things started to change. And I was doing a lot of writing and I was doing some PTs, and I found myself saying similar things to people all the time, having similar conversations. And I'm like, maybe there's something here. I'm going to make a workbook. So I thought I'd make a workbook for my clients. And then the idea of that sort of grew. I actually had the title of the book way before I even had a book. So
that happens, yeah.
And so I was thinking about things, and it was a really difficult time in my life when I wrote the book. I'd only recently separated from the father of my kids, and so it was a really tumultuous time in my life. So the business wasn't doing that great. I'm separated. I'm about to turn 40. I hate myself. I hate my life.
You're struggling.
I'm struggling right now. And I had the title for this book because I felt like I have to be all these things. Like I have to be in my life right now. I've got these kids, but I've got this dojo, and I don't have a partner, and I've got all this stuff.
It's a lot of stuff to balance. Yeah.
To balance, and so I'm having these conversations with these women. Well, my life is in turmoil, and I'm like, oh, okay. Anyway, so I got some money for my 40th birthday. Well, I had a big party. I said it was my 21st because it was my 21st year in karate then.
Cool.
So I invited everyone to my 21st. We had this dressed up party. Lots of the members from the dojo came. The dojo is kind of like my family. So I had lots of people from the dojo there. It was a big party, and they all put together and gave me some money. And I went, oh, right, I'm going to take this money and I'm going to take myself away on a trip down the beach, and I'm going to write a book, right? I've turned 40 now. I'm going to write this book. And so I was looking online for accommodation, and I'm thinking while I'm doing it, oh, this is really expensive. I'm going to waste all this money, And I don't know how to write a book. So I'm going to waste all this money and I'm not going to have a book. So, and I was on Facebook and I'm scrolling through and this ad pops up for the 48-hour author, right? So I'm
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah.
oh, well, that's interesting. So I clicked on that, and then she was running like a one-day workshop. I went to this workshop. It was a $50 investment to go for the one-day information session. And it was at that time when I went, okay, I'm doing this. And I'm signing up. She was local as well, which helped. And it was like a given. So the minute that I did that, I'm like, yep, the book's there. The process was much more difficult than that. Not writing the book. I read the book now and I cringe a little bit. It's not how I write now. I've evolved over 4 years, I think.
Of course, yeah.
So I look at it and I go, you know what, but I had to let it go because the book itself is about perfect imperfection. And then the book is not, by no means is the book perfect. It's far from perfect. There's mistakes in there. I see it every time, but I had to let it go, and writing the book was huge for me because it was about confidence. And I realized that everything that was holding me back in the business, everything that was holding me back in life was all about my perception of myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to be really brave. Like, there's personal stuff in that book. You've read it,
Mm-hmm.
So you open yourself up to a lot of criticism.
It's very vulnerable.
Yeah, and even like I post videos on Facebook, I post stuff online. You open yourself up to a lot of criticism every time you put yourself out there. So for me, that was a big step, and things started to shift a lot after that book was written. The book is not making me money. And everyone says there's no money to be made in writing books, but there is something that happens in the process. Actually, that's really important because the last chapter, the 13th chapter in the book is about, it's not about the belt.
Yes.
It's not about it's about what happens to you while you write the book. It's about what happens to you while you train for your black belt. It's what happens to you while you prep for a tournament. It's all it's the stuff that happens on the journey, not the destination. We all know that, right?
Yeah.
So for me, the book was really important.
Mm-hmm. And how was it received?
To be honest, I haven't really got it out there far and wide. That's my goal this year. Well, it was my goal in 2020, to do something with this book. I've read another book.
People, read it.
Thank you. Please. It was received really well with my Kyokushin community, and I'm really thankful for everybody's support. And in actual fact, that 13th chapter in the book, when I was going through the editing process, the editor told me to take it out.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, she said it's not suitable for your audience because you have to determine an audience for your book. Mine was single women,
right?
Women who wanted to get more out of life type thing, right? And she's like, that's not your audience. And I said, okay, I appreciate what you're saying. You know me, I fight for what I want. And I said, I'm hearing what you're saying. She said, they won't understand it. They won't connect with it, anything. I said, but if this is my one book and most of it comes off the back of my karate journey and my involvement in that, I need to honor it. And I said, this chapter is all about that for me, and the people that are going to read it from my karate audience, I think this will be the most important chapter out of it all, and I want it in there. And it was interesting because after the book was fully edited and it was published, she wrote to me and she said, you know what? She said, that's your best chapter.
Oh, yes. Experts.
Yeah, so it was an interesting process, but yeah, so I need to do some more with the book. It was well received. I'm surprised that men like you.
I was just going to say, yeah, because I know we've talked about that you did focus it on women, and I get that. I mean, I understand it from reading it, but and I was saying to my girlfriend before, like it gave me a lot of insight to a female perspective, obviously, in the struggles that someone would go through, especially when you're juggling so many things, whether it's a parent, a business, and all these types of things, and overcoming all this stuff. But there's so much stuff in there, no matter if you're male or female, you're going to relate to, including that last chapter that you talked about. So yeah, I think I didn't read it with that in mind at all. And I remember that even when you gave it to me, that you were talking about the perspective of, it's more for a female audience. But no, I don't think so. I think you should market to both. I think
Okay.
guys can learn a lot from this, not only about themselves,
This is
but
the
about.
secret to understand women, is it?
Pardon me?
the secret to understanding women.
That's right. No, but I think they could understand themselves a bit better by reading it. It's a lot of really good wisdom in there that's applicable, male or female. I don't think it really matters. Yeah.
I think it's a really simplistic book. I think it's an easy read.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what I wanted because like in my journey, like I've read a lot of books and I've picked up a lot of books at the shops going, oh, this is going to change my life. And I
Right.
just I found them really difficult to read.
Yeah.
And and I've done some work with mentors and stuff like that. And I think people give up on themselves a little bit when they go through this process because they pick up a book and they go, this is going to change my life. And then the book's really hard.
Yes.
And it wants you to do this, do this, do this, do
Have
this.
you
And you're like,
seen a Tony Robbins book? It's like
yeah.
this.
And no doubt there's good stuff
Of
in there, but
course.
a lot of people, I think, need a step up
Yeah.
first before they get there. And
Yes.
what I was hoping that my book was simple enough for people to read, but they'd still get something out of it. And then if they wanted to go further into that
Sure.
themselves, they can. But I wanted it to be simple. You've seen there's bits in there for people to scribble notes.
Yeah.
Look,
It's
here's a book
digestible. Yeah.
well, this is how I read, right?
Right.
So I've got sticky
Yeah.
notes and highlighted bits, and I want people to do that with the book. I want people to write stuff out of it and write stuff in it and use it, and I want it to be more, like I said, I originally wanted a workbook, so I want it to be a workable book. Yeah.
Yeah. And it has so many keys in there to unlock other things that, to your point, that you can look for it. It's so easily digestible. So yeah, I'm not doing this just to like push sales here. I really do.
I haven't paid him.
That's right. No, but I really encourage people to pick it up because it's really, really awesome. And at the end of the day, actually, we should encourage each other, especially the Kyokushin family. We should support one another. So if you have something out there that's to offer good advice and good support for people, then yeah, go buy her book.
Yeah. I'll tell you what's a really good book to read. You were talking about Taekwondo before.
Yeah.
Many years ago, I don't know if you remember, we had an Australian Taekwondo Olympic champion, Lauren Burns.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so she did, that's going to sound funny. She did this when I was fighting, and when I was at the peak of my fighting, that's when she won at the Olympics. And she went on this TV show called Hey Hey It's Saturday, which was a really famous TV show, family TV show here that was running for years and years and years. And she did an interview on it, and they interviewed her, and she was saying like how she did full contact martial arts, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's not full contact. And I was really angry, and I'm like, I go to my instructor, I go, you get me a fight with her. I want to fight her, right? I don't know how it would have gone, but I was so,
Yeah.
And anyway, and then I was angry at her. I don't know why. I was angry at her. Probably jealous. I was probably jealous. But she released a book. I've got it. It's not here though, and I can't. It's at the dojo. I can't remember I honestly can't remember what it's called. But I picked up that book because I thought I'm going to read this.
Know your enemy.
Know your enemy.
Yeah.
I was in total respect of her after I read that book. Yeah, her training that she undergone and the stuff that she went through to train for that. She went and trained in Korea. You know, she did all that stuff. The weight cutting, the running, the pressure, the everything that she went through. She also lived locally to where I was living at that time. And so when she's telling stories and I was relating, and I just had complete and utter respect for her.
Did you ever meet her?
No. The funny thing was when I did my book launch, I did a local book launch, and she works somewhere local to me now, even still. And I wanted her to come in as a guest speaker, but she wasn't available.
Oh. I hope you do get a chance to meet her. That'd be so cool.
Yeah,
you could tell her how you wanted to kick her ass.
Yeah, and how no. But it's a funny thing. It's a funny thing because I guess there was her putting herself out there in her book as well, and I read it and was like, wow, okay.
Well, that's
full respect.
That's the thing. Everyone has their own story, and I'm sure we could, if we went into this another hour, we could, things start coming out. People do have a story, things they've overcome in their life. Everyone has a struggle, and it's hard for us to always relate because we're always caught up in our own thing, and that's why again, reading your book and stuff to understand what people go through. It's really incredible. And same now you're talking about this lady that initially you wanted to kill, but then you read her story and you find it so inspiring and stuff.
Yeah.
Everyone has a story. Everyone has something that can inspire another person, and I find that
Mm.
amazing. I remember one time years ago sitting at a bar with a friend of mine just complaining about my job at the time, and the guy my friend I was with, he was like, if you could do anything right now, no money for take it off the table, whatever, what would you do? And I said, I'd love just to go and talk to each and every person in this bar and just to get their story, because everybody
Yeah.
has,
Amazing.
yeah, it's I just find humans fascinating, and what we've overcome, and yeah.
Well, you know how I told you I was looking through photos and stuff the other day. I was looking for photos of my grandpa, and I totally regret the fact that I never had those conversations with him.
Yeah.
And that was someone close to me, but I never got his story. I
Yeah.
wasn't old to get his story anyway, I don't think. Well, I was at the end, but when I spent majority of the time with him, I was too stupid, or not. I was young. I was like, in my early teens.
Yeah.
I didn't have the nous to ask those
Your brain's not
those
even developed by that point.
I just didn't have the nous to ask any of those questions, and
Yeah.
I have no doubt that he had a huge story to tell. And he was somebody that I lived with, and
Yeah.
I didn't even get that story. So, absolutely, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what words of wisdom would you leave people with now as we wrap this up? Is there anything that you'd like to get out to people, or anything at all? And you don't have to.
No, well, I guess for me, what's really hit home during this time is I posted a video about it the other day on my page, asking my members to tell me, what their why is.
Mm.
Like at the end of the day, we train, um, but why do we train?
So, what's your
You
why?
know, my why is because it makes me a better person. Yeah, it makes
Hmm.
me a better person. I wouldn't be the person that I am today if not for Kyokushin Karate, for that day that I stumbled into the dojo. Um, it honestly, it makes me a better person, and I've been exposed to so many good people because of it. Um, and I forever want to challenge myself, and I forever want to be better, and grow and learn, and I want to be fit and strong as long as humanly possible. Um, but yeah, so I just, because we can't train at the moment, or we can't be at the dojo, I think it's more it highlights the reasons why we love it.
Hmm.
Well, it should
Hmm.
highlight the reasons why we love it, and why we need it, and why we do it. And I think when we come out of this, at the end of the day, everyone should be back with renewed vigor and a really strong sense of purpose as to why they're at the dojo, um, or what they want out of life, really. And I think, yeah, at the start of the year, when I was thinking about my training and everything, I posted a video on Facebook as well about, I understand what Sosai meant now, um, when he said he wanted to create world peace through martial arts. And I thought it was the airy fairy, right? I thought it was like, when the beauty pageants, I want world peace. No,
Yeah.
no disrespect to Sosai intended, but it sounded airy fairy to me. I didn't get it. I
Right.
didn't get it at all. But I get it now, because it's like, if if martial arts makes you introspective and makes you a better person, right? And then we send out those people into the world, and
Hmm.
then also, yourself, you can speak to anybody who does Kyokushin, and it doesn't matter what their religion is, their background is, where they live. You'll have this immediate connection with this person simply because of Kyokushin. I know it's happened to me during work. When I was working for Heidelberg, for example, I got talking to one of my contacts, and he's like, "Oh, I used to do Kyokushin." All of a sudden, bam,
Yeah.
we had this massive friendship. He'd answer all my questions first. When I flew to Germany, he drove for an hour, picked me up from the airport just to
Mm.
drop me at the hotel and say hi. So there's this instant connection. And if that can break down barriers, then I get where he meant world peace, and that was just because it created this massive network of good people, and it broke down barriers. And I think, if something can do that, then how awesome is that? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know.
That was beautiful. Well said.
Thank
Sensei Kylie, you're truly
you.
inspirational.
I don't know if
Honestly.
I Happy to
No,
be here.
no, you really, really are. And again, I do encourage people to check out your book, check out your vids online as well. You do some amazing. I love when you're just in front of the camera, just speaking and stuff to your students and or just to the world. Yeah, it's really, really great stuff, and I think you inspire a lot of people. So I think you've done an amazing job.
Thank
So
you.
I don't know if it was fate or destiny or whatever, but I'm glad that you broke up with that guy when you were 19.
Yeah,
whatever
me too.
whatever brought
Me
you
too.
into that dojo. So I think the world's a better place to have people like you in it. So thank you very much, and thank you so much for taking the time. I know it's a massive time difference here and stuff, so
No,
we
good.
juggled around a bit, but thank you so much. I'm so honored. This was an amazing conversation. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity, and come over soon.
I will be there. Thank you.
Yeah. All
Okay.
right. Thank you.
Have a good day. Have a good
Yeah,
night.
you too.
Us.
Awesome. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.